Well, I look forward to this conversation. I've known Reverend Sunshine Michelle for a long time. We worked together. I'd like for you to share your journey a little bit of how you ended up where you are now as the senior pastor of a uh, Center for Spiritual Living community. And in particular, we want to have some time to talk about your work, your doctoral work in authenticity, and just how you integrate all of this into your life. It seems to be a good fit. And I'd love for you to share this with our community. So, my first question to you is just that. What are some defining moments in your journey that brought you to this place and to this time in your life?
Mm, thank you, all of you, for inviting me. I'm glad to be here. Hello to everybody. Happy rainy Friday. We bless the rain. I give praise and honor to my ancestors, to Mother Gaia, and to the native people of the land, and give thanks for being here. As my grandmother would say on this side of the veil, in my right mind, as far as I know, is what she I added the last part, but she would declare in my right mind. And that's a loaded question. All my life, as long as I can remember, I've always lived out loud. And as I aged and matured, what I realized is there was a lot going on internally, that I wasn't living out loud as much as I thought. And I'm an extroverted. I present extrovertedly, as those of you who know me know. And yet, when I would do the Myers-Briggs, I would challenge them because they said I was an introvert, and I just couldn't understand that. But it made sense because I process inwardly. Nothing wrong with introversion or extroversion. It's just that, there's a lot that goes on in here. And I began being curious about that. I began being curious about, curiosity, and that's probably why I landed in transformative inquiry, because I love inquiry, and I like to just ask questions and learn. That's the way I learn. And so when I would start to notice that I wouldn't say something that I wanted to say, I would ask myself why. And, everything that holds you back, I believe, starts and ends with fear, whether you call it that or something else. There's some fear in there somewhere. So I began exploring, like, well, how do you push past that, push through that? And that led me, believe it or not, all along the years to where I am now. It led me to be able to do the self-inquiry that would lead me to be my greatest and highest self, that to be me unapologetically, whatever that means, and to find the strength and the courage, and as my grandmother would say, the holy boldness to do that. And then I wanted to help other people do it. And so that, in a nutshell, is kind of how I ended up at this place. And I lived my life, I noticed, in a parallel universe, if you will, because I'm by profession, I'm a human resources professional. And that's what I did for 9 years at CIIS as the HR director. Yet I've been it for decades exploring my spirituality, but I kind of did that on the side. And why do you feel like you have to do it on the side, that you can't have that be all together? But for whatever reason, I paralleled that. And over the last 10 years or so in my exploration, I've learned to bring those together. And that's where and why I am where I am today. And that I got an academic degree that I can integrate with my spiritual pursuits, which I love. And I love to say that. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. I sense that integration between your professional career and your spiritual life. And actually, I think most of us have a goal of bringing the two together in whatever our spirituality is, and whatever I like to say, whatever pays the bills and keeps a roof over our head.
Right.
Um, can you talk a little about what you imagine next for yourself. Are you where you always wanted to be, or is there, and I know there's always more to come, but do you have a sense of what that might be?
Yes and no, and I'm open. I mean, I'm open at the top, literally. And I put spirit first in my life and I listen in. I feel I'm here on this planet to do whatever work I was sent here to do. I think that we all are sent here to do whatever it is, and that we're all, that's just my belief that we all have a special something, whether we know it or not, even if it's not, some of these things that seem so magnificent or glorious. It could just be the way you laugh or the way you show up or the way you give love, whatever it is. That's what I believe. So I'm here to do that. And I don't know exactly what that is. And I may have some ideas. And I've honed the spiritual practice of listening into spirit. So I know when spirit speaks to me, as opposed to when it's the monkey mind or that other mind, how you're not sure. Some people might say is, how do you know spirit speaking to you? Or how do you know that it's this other thing? Well, I know what that is. And I've honed it enough to where I will follow it blindly. I will follow it because I just hear it and know that's the right thing to do, and I go do it. Now, that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of guts because a lot of times, haven't you been driving down the street or something like this, right? Where you're used to going your regular way and then something tells you to go a different way. And what do? It's like, no, I don't want to go that way today. I'm going to go this way. And what happens? You run straight into an accident or something that holds you up or makes you late or whatever. And what's the first thing you say? I shoulda, right? So it's that voice that I follow, and it's led me to where I am. I didn't necessarily expect to be running a spiritual center the way I'm doing, and that's what I was called to, kind of out of what I was doing before. And the pandemic had a lot to do with it. When I was finishing up, I had finished up my coursework in the program, and I had written some on the dissertation. And I remember being in corporate. I was in corporate in HR, and I was on an unpaid leave when COVID was like really thick and going on and on and on, right? And then I eventually got laid off of that job. And, it was a tough time. At least it was for me. I was isolated and by myself. We couldn't go anywhere or do anything. And I decided it's like, maybe you need to finish this dissertation, take this time to finish it. But it was so hard. It was hard with all those circumstances, but I made it and I did it and I finished. And then it's like, okay, so now what? Now what am I supposed to do? Because I didn't feel like I was supposed to go back in corporate, right? So here's what I did. I listened in, like I said a minute ago, and I was led to interview a variety of people in my network that know me. I ended up interviewing almost 20 people for 1 hour each, and I recorded it with their permission, and I have those recordings. And I had some set questions, but the what I was hearing was simply to have a conversation with them, kind of tell them where my thinking was at the moment, and invite them to give me feedback based on what they knew about me, and us have a conversation. And I did that and looked at my notes, explored some more, and kept going, kept going, kept going, and it led me here. So sometimes you don't know where you'll be led. I don't, and I trust where I'm going.
Thank you. That's fascinating. I always, when you're speaking about your mother, your grandmother, and what she says, my mother always used to say, "Follow your first mind."
Absolutely.
Um, you began talking about your program, your TID program, and you have can you say more about the program and your dissertation and how that all comes together? I remember you're talking about authenticity, and you've done some workshops and work around that. And I'd love for you to share some of that with our with folks online today.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I pulled out my dissertation. I know my thing is on, but I have my book here. I wanted to make sure I got the title right. I wanted to, you know how sometimes it's a mouthful, right? And it's like I know parts of it, but anyway, it was a fascinating process. I listened in the whole way. And you didn't really ask me this, but I'll say it, Shirley. I integrate it in everything I do because I was drawn to this topic and to this program as a part of what I was experiencing in life. And so I'm living out loud with this. And sometimes I will quote my own work from my pulpit. And it's just because I was hearing it. And actually, what led me into the program is because I was curious about some of the concepts that ended up being in the dissertation. I was curious about it for myself. And then as I explored it, I was then curious for other people. And that led me into the program. And those concepts that I had been living by and exploring with, I was able to test out with other people who were in my project. And they agreed with some of the things I had to say. So I have 7 original concepts in my dissertation. I'm going to read to you the title. It's a mouthful too. And it was so exciting to be able to do this work. Um, it's I did the work through Sacred Sister Circles. I'm all about circles. I'm all about holding workshops and convening sisters together. Sacred Sister Circles for women of colors, plural, colors. Anna Louise Keating was on my committee, and she talked about in some of her work the women of colors that represents the diversity within the population of women of color, because we're in so many shades and shapes and cultures and colors, and so I wanted to play on that. And then here's the methodology. This is important. A feminist participatory action, organic inquiry. I know that's a mouthful. Let me break that down and tell you why that's so important. That's one of the concepts. I created a new methodology with the help of my beautiful chair, Dr. May Elawar, who organic inquiry was just so exciting to me when I began being exposed to it. And so was participatory action research. And so was feminist critical theory, in particular, Black feminist critical theory. And so I ended up putting all those together because those individually didn't do it for the work that I had in mind. So I created what I call FPAOI, Feminist Participatory Action Organic Inquiry.
That's a
Yay.
mouthful.
It is. But yay, y'all can use it. You know, prospective students, if you come on to CIIS and you find this of interest, you can use it all you want to. And then the last part is exploring authentic self-expression. So I was curious about how people like myself, women of colors, can use the Sacred Sister Circle to explore authentic self-expression.